새롭 시행도 새롭 신서만을 해라 지금 새롭 시행도는 지금 최주배 튕기에 상신 가연 차에
in next lives that we will have a life where we have the right opportunities to practice Dharma and there will be no obstacles. So we have to pray for that and accumulate, dedicate our positive actions towards that. And if we do that, then there is a possibility that we will be born in the pure realms and then we'll continuously progress and we'll never come back. There is also like in China there are certain schools of Buddhism for being born in the Western pure realm. In Tibet there is no special school, but all schools do this practice and make prayers to be born into and also in all these practices or prayers in India also at the end there are many praying to be reborn in Devachen or the during the Gandharva time, during the first and second century, there are Amitabha statues where at the near the at the bottom of the statue it's written that I pay homage to Amitabha. So there are images of Amitabha in India also. I think from the time the Mahayana Buddhism started, this kind of praying to be born into the Sukhavati kind of thing started. So here I intend to talk about these two pure realms together, Eastern and Western, and on the fifth day then we will do the empowerments. So then it kind of we made some teachings and also then empowerment, so it becomes a complete thing. So in order to teach about the Amitabha land, or if we do or make conditions to be reborn in Devachen, and first what kind of basis needs, and then what are the things that will bring that conditions, and so there are kind of 4 points here. So out of these 4 points, the first, so if we try to create the conditions to be reborn in Devachen or born in Devachen, what do we need as the basis? What kind of life form we need? There are many sutras which talks about how to, and this is for human beings and non-human beings, not kind of enlightened beings, but samsaric beings. So anybody who is a being who has the capacity to become more virtuous. So anybody who has the mind that can be more virtuous, that can create more virtue, then that person can can be born.
상기 신들이 깨버리 기회 레드 셈 동시 계획 상황은 용성어 기네 참마시베 기바다 담배 최고의 디베디베 심제나 마도 바라.
So it is said by the Buddha that if we aspire to be reborn and we dedicate and we do positive things, then unless that person has committed the most heinous deeds, 5 deeds, or that they have completely given up the Dharma, then it's very difficult. Other than that, anybody, ordinary being, can have the capacity or they can have the potential to be reborn into Devachen if they work on it. And this is said in Chimengada that whoever hold the Buddha's name, especially the Amitabha Buddha's name, then they will be born into the Devachen. Anybody, man or woman, has devotion, has respect to the sutra of Devachen, then they will be born there. And Amita Yus or Amitabha are same. It's the same. And all its retinue. And they are kind of heart sons, Avalokiteshvara and Vajrapani. So if we have devotion to all of them, to any of them, those can have the potential to be born into Devachen or Sukhavati. According to Karmachame, Karmachame is kind of commentary on the four yoga practice. According to that, it says that the Chandrisik is the heart son of Amitabha. So therefore, if you practice Karma Pancheno also, then it's easy to be reborn or born into Amitabha. I heard I was thinking like this before once. I've seen somewhere. If you just practice Amitabha, then it takes a long time. Then if you practice the heart sons of Amitabha, that's like Avalokiteshvara and Vajrapani, then it's easier to be born. So, for instance, if you ask the king directly, you cannot see the king. But if you have somebody in the king's court who is very, kind of near to the king, and then if you ask that, then through that you can maybe get the audience, get to see the king much easier. So I think something like that. So that's the. So therefore, if you practice Avalokiteshvara, then it is easier to be reborn or born in Sukhavati, it's said. I've read somewhere. If you practice Chandrisik, Avalokiteshvara, it is said that the practice of Chandrisik has no obstacles. It is said that if you practice Zambala, there are some obstacles. There are some obstacles that follows them. Certain practices have some obstacles following it, but the Avalokiteshvara Chandrisik practice doesn't have that. If you practice Chandrisik, then there's less obstacles, it is said. Whatever you say, some people say like this. For a person who is a samsaric person, if they create, even if they create all the right conditions, even then they will not be born into Dewachen. Everybody who is born in Dewachen are all kind of bound to be pure. And Yang Tapa means they are not in samsara but outside the samsara or free from samsara. So it is said that everybody who is born in Dewachen will be cannot be born, but it's not like that. Although what is said in the sutras is there are many ways of commenting on it. In the Julama commentary of Asanga, it is said that this Yantapa or the pure practice, pure understanding is not necessarily somebody who is become free from samsara. So it's so according to the Asanga's way of explanation, then you don't have to be a fully nirvana kind of enlightened person or free from samsara in order to be born into the Dewachen realm. According according to some, there's a kind of this is according to some people, then even if a person who is in samsara creates all the conditions that is recommended, may not be able to be born into the Dewachen until they actually free themselves from samsara, and they have, unless they have completely done away with the causes of samsara or causes of suffering. Until and unless you do that, it cannot be. Some people say that, but it is not a problem. It is not a problem because but when you are born in the pure realm, then your body is not, the way you are is not the suffering body, and therefore your although you have not completely enlightened or you you are not freed from the negative emotions. Still, because of the power of the Purim, you can still be, free from these negative emotions. So therefore, because there is so much influence of the Amitabha, that at that time it is possible that because of the strong influence of the power of the Buddha, therefore, although you are not actually freed from all the causes of suffering, therefore you could be then there, have no kind of obstacles of these negative emotions. So therefore, it is possible. It is also said, this is a prayer saying that the power of the Buddha is, unkind of thinkable. It's unlimited, and so therefore. Sometimes when you say that the Buddha's power is unlimited, so then we think, then without our any efforts, Buddha has all the power, so they can just do it. So maybe we can get that idea that Buddha can do everything, we don't have to do anything. But that's not the case. The Buddha's power is unlimited, but then also our own kind of sentient beings is also unlimited. Something beyond the thoughts or beyond the understanding. So just that the Buddha's power is unlimited, it's not enough, because our own karma is also unlimited. So if we don't do something ourselves, if we don't create the right conditions, that is not enough. So we have to create our own conditions, and when we make our conditions, then the power, unlimited power of Buddha can actually come also, and then we together create this unlimited kind of a benefit for us. It is said that the Buddha has that power. Buddha has the power to bring all the beings to enlightenment. Although that is from the Buddha side, all the conditions are right. It has all the power. But then the other side, on our being side, we don't have all the conditions right. So therefore, it's only one side, the right conditions, but not from other side. And according to some others, the conditions that is talked about in the sutras about the creating conditions to be reborn or to be born in Devachen can be actually accumulated by ordinary people or the samsaric beings. But nobody who is not everybody who is born into Devachen are all Arya, free from samsara. So therefore, if we create the right conditions to be born into Devachen, then during our pardo, when after we die and before we born there, then we transform and then we become a pure being or free from samsara being. This is also not completely true, it is said, because and a person of desire who doesn't have the right, who has not the right condition to be born into the higher realms, but somebody, a human being or this person who is not entered into the path, and then who is not done any practice, can directly transform in the path, is very difficult. maybe it is possible if you are practicing Vajrayana or something like that, but otherwise not. So somebody who is really aspiring to be born into Devachen, whoever he may be or she may be, and they can actually accomplish all the conditions, because it is said in the sutra of Amitabha Buddha said that unless, and then the Amitabha has made this promise that unless all beings become enlightened, I will never become Buddha. And so therefore, because of that power of aspiration of the Amitabha, then there is a power that anybody who prays to be born in the Devachen and who generates the bodhicitta and who does all the right conditions prescribed in the sutra actually can be born in the Devachen or the Amitabha pure realm. So what are the right conditions to be born in Devachen? So first you have to understand that, then we have to meditate and practice, and then we will be able to actually experience and see this pure realm and be able to be born there. There are many quotations about this. So, if we do these practices, if we create these conditions, then even in this life, we will be able to have the visions of Devachen, and we have to, we can create the positive conditions to actually have this experience. And as soon as we are dead and we are reborn, then we can have the possibilities to have this experience of being in the pure realm. That is possible. Whether you are, the type of person of Sharvakayana or Mahayana or Vajrayana or Pritagabuddharana, whatever it may be, you will be able to experience those. And then you enter into Mahayana or Bodhisattvayana, and then you can practice the great Bodhisattvas practice, and then you will be born as the Bodhisattva of the last stage, and then become Buddha or complete enlightenment. So in short, what is necessary to have the right body or right basis is you can be a human being, you can be a god, a realm, you can be any positive, that you can actually change your mind towards more positive or more virtuous. Anybody who can turn their mind or transform their mind into more positive can actually create the conditions to be born into the pure realm. That's it. That we, the main condition is that we can change, we can transform ourselves for more positive. So the conditions are 3 or 4. These things, first we have to listen, and then actually we keep it in our mind, we understand them, and then we actually practice them, we meditate on them. Then in this life, in the next life, And then we will see Amitabha, and then we will be born in Amitabha's Puram. That's possible. That's one thing. Then the second, what is the need, the purpose to this maybe tomorrow. This I will talk about tomorrow. The purpose to be born. And the third, then something related with Akshobhya or Abhirata Puram. So maybe we talk a general introduction. Then detail we can talk about later. It is said in Kuncho Tsepindo, there is a Mintu Pishiko Bindo, the Sutra of Mitupa. There how Akshobhya Buddha generated bodhicitta, and then how he became enlightened, and then he created the Abhirati or the Puram was created. These things are given clearly. This we will talk about tomorrow. Last few years, I took some interest in the Akshobhya, and then we did fire puja of Akshobhya at Kajumalams, and then I did also some retreats, or we created some retreats here, coming from the lamas from different countries, asked them to made them do some Akshobhya practice, and at that time when they were doing these practices, I tried to explain whatever I knew about this Akshobhya practice. The one reason why I did this is because, according to my feeling, at this time, in this 21st century, there are lots of technical progress, there are lots of material progress. At this time, the human beings, the activity of the human beings is very strong, is very effective, it's very powerful. Therefore, not like before, to the environment or to the earth or to the other people, we make lots of influence. We harm them a lot. We harm other beings or the environment or earth very strongly. This we can see very clearly at this time. So it's a very strong karmic place. I mean, the time when we make a very strong karma. So therefore, if we practice Akshobhya, maybe I think that it will help a lot, because Akshobhya is something a Buddha especially to kind of purify negative karma. So once I talked about three karmas. This is something not in the sutras or tantras, but this is what I understood. The three karmas. The first karma is, for example, the fishermen, the hunters. The hunters are there as long as they were human beings. But the hunters of that time, the fishermen of that time, and the hunters and fishermen of now cannot be compared. The hunters of that time, in ancient times, they just had weapons of like stone hinges, and then they used certain iron weapons. And then now they have guns, they have all kind of poisons, so they do. So therefore, it's much more powerful. It's much more quick, soft, swift. It's very convenient. So therefore, so we can kill much more in number, much more quickly. Therefore, it's not same kind of fishing or same hunting than before. Like same about the fishermen. So first, in the beginning, you just maybe in the beginning they didn't even have the nets. They just had the hook. So you just can get one fish with one hook, and then you have to wait a whole day, and maybe whole day you may not get one fish even. In some countries, like in China, the ducks, because the ducks can actually fish, so therefore they put so they use the ducks. So when the duck kind of catches the fish, then you hold the neck of the duck and then make it kind of vomit the fish. So you take it. So this kind of difficult way of fishing. Nowadays they are like big fishes, have big nets, and these go to places where there are lots of fishes, because you can see through technology where are those big numbers of fishes. So you, in one net, you can catch thousands of fishes, and some fishermen only fish one type of fish. But when you actually catch, then you catch all different kind of fishes. So you just throw away all the fishes that you don't want. So actually, unnecessarily, you kill, or lots of different kinds of fish are kind of die, although you don't need them. You just throw away. So therefore, we know, we have talked about how many animals, how many fishes you catch or you kill every day. It's in millions and billions of numbers. It's not one. So therefore, this is the time where so much negative actions are strong. Negative actions of ourselves are so strong. This is the first type of karma. The second, what I'm talking about, is this. So because when we practice, or when we accumulate very strong negative karma, then the power of the Buddha, the blessings of the Buddha become much more powerful also. Their force, their blessing, their kind of positive influence also becomes more powerful. Because of that, the Buddha Shakyamuni said, during the degenerate time, when there are, when this kind of time happens, then the Buddha said you should practice the Akshobhya practices. The reason why you have to call Mitukpa or Akshobhya or unmoving or unmoved or undisturbed, because that he's never been disturbed by hatred or anger. The person was never kind of moved, or now at this moment everybody has lots of conflict, lots of anger, violent. There's lots of violence, the violent type of mind. There are lots of kind of violence. So because our violent kind of attitude, our emotion becomes so strong, therefore all these things happened. There's a violence kind of that becomes stronger and stronger. I've talked about when we eat meat, then animals are killed. We don't kind of we are kind of we don't care. We become careless. That's okay, because they cannot talk, so maybe they don't have feeling. Once that becomes stronger and stronger, then maybe we can also act in the same way to other human beings also. Maybe we can kind of eat human flesh, we can wear human kind of skin, because we don't feel anything much more, because if our kind of this violent way of thinking becomes very strong, then it doesn't, we wouldn't feel any kind of bad, or we wouldn't feel kind of any negative. Like during the time of the Second World War, there were lots of war. Those killed in the war was different, but there were lots of people who were not, in the kind of in the war, or they were not armies, but they so much tortured people, civilian people who were not really involved in the war. This we can see through the history. So this is kind of how it happens when our anger, when our violent attitude or violent kind of habitual tendency becomes stronger and stronger. Then sometimes we say that we can say that the person maybe something like was possessed by something negative, or something like a Mara, or something like a demon, and then makes this person do negative things. Sometimes we talk about these things. This is not right. Actually, it's just our habitual tendency. During the Cultural Revolution in Tibet, there's so many monasteries were destroyed, so many positive kind Buddhist, and then so many people were killed. So we said that at that time they all went mad, because they just got influenced, or they were possessed by demons. But actually, I don't know whether anything really get possessed, but because that time people were not really studied, so they didn't have the true way of understanding, and so then when they were kind of taught something different, then they kind of was misled. They could be misled, because then because they didn't have a proper education on how to think properly, how to understand things properly. So therefore they made those negative deeds. That's the second one. The third is this. Although there is kind of strong negative deeds and strong antidotes towards that, but then there is nothing to kind of put them together. We need something that kind of that corresponds, or that puts them together. This is like here is the Buddha Shakyamuni and great masters of the India and Tibet and all other great masters. Those those who taught us, those who understood the right way, and then with great compassion, they made lots of guidance, they gave lots of instructions, and that's the thing, like for this kind of negative actions, what can you do? What kind of really powerful thing you can do to counteract this? Especially the great masters of the Kagyu lineage of the past. They kind of belong to the Akshobhya kind of family. For instance, the Milarepa, when he received the empowerment of Jepa Dorje, his kind of flower fell in the east, and therefore his name was called Jepa Dorje. Maybe I'm making mistakes, but it's clear that he was from the Akshobhya type or Akshobhya family, and the Karmapa also. Because to signify that he belongs to the Akshobhya family, then he has this black hat. When you say black hat, it is some people think that it has to be extremely, completely black, but actually the real color of the Karmapa's hat, which is there, is that kind of dark blue. So that shows the changeless nature. Why changeless thing is signified by the blue or dark blue is generally people think that the sky doesn't change, everything else changes. Because the sky is empty, there's nothing there. So just when we kind of generally think about sky, it is the sky that we see. So we see kind of a blue, kind of dark blue. So in the same way, the true nature doesn't change. So therefore, because it is similar to the sky, so therefore that color signifies the changeless nature. So therefore the Karmapa kind of original head is blue, dark blue. So therefore that blessing is with us. We have the lineage, and then we all have to practice with diligently. So we have to, that condition, that cause has to be is very important. That we have to practice with joy. It's not like we have to work very hard. We have to push ourselves. It's not like that. We just have the joy of doing it. Some people. So the natural positive way or the positive kind of thing that we have in our mind, that we kind of disregard. So we want something that is more, something that is different, which I don't have. That I want to try to get, like a person who is very greedy. So he needs lots of things, lots of gold, lots of silver. So we feel that we have to get something that lots of things that we don't have now. So most people feel that is what we have to. So many people try to practice Dhamma, something that is, something that is we got from outside, something that we don't have. That's not the way. That should not be the way. We have to understand what is there naturally with us. Like if you look deeply in us, what kind of the kindness or love that is there, to see that. It's not that sometimes I think we too much change we need, too much kind of something created we need, something that is unnatural we need. The positive things that we have naturally, we just disregard, we just don't appreciate. So we tried. Of course, we have to change, we have to transform. First, like even devotion, first we have to create, and then slowly become, the experience the uncreated one. But first we have to start with something that's naturally there, something that is we are inspired, something that is naturally there. Then we try to get something which don't have at all, with something that is not there at all, and then we try very hard. That becomes very that doesn't become a true Dharma practice. It's very difficult. We must think about this. I think it's something like that. From tomorrow onwards, then we will maybe a little bit talk about the Akshobhya's practice. I don't know much about these things, and then also there is not much time to prepare for it. Even if I make lots of preparation, it doesn't help, because if it's not in me, if it's not in my experience, then it doesn't make much sense. Unless if it doesn't help people, if it doesn't really transform your mind, then it wouldn't help talking too much. Sometimes I cannot teach very well, so I must say this right from the beginning. I will kind of accept. I have to accept that I am not a great teacher. It's better. There is a kind of saying of Dotrup Chen. It said that even if the instructor has is cause of many negative things, but if the instruction itself becomes something helpful, then even if you practice that, there's nothing wrong with it. Because it is said that you don't rely on the person, but rely on the Dharma. Sometimes the person is not reliable, but the instruction of the Dharma is important. Sometimes, even the child can give you a good instruction. So therefore, even if somebody who is not very learned, not very great, the person, but if the teaching is useful, something good, then that is also possible. Don't look at me, but look at what I say, because everything that I say is coming from the books or the teachings, and of course there's many things in that is my own understanding, and that you can examine. It's good to examine. We have to examine. People are happy to examine. Sometimes too much examination also is not good. There's nothing to practice. Then there's to actually kind of practical, but only think and make. Then it is no use. There's no practice, only thinking. Same with making debates, because it is said that although you debate and you think and you reflect, but actually at the end there should be something that's really you have to kind of practical. So the debates went on for 1,000 years. It never stopped. It never came to an end, and you can still debate for thousands of years, and it will never come to any definite conclusion. And now we do some meditation. Some meditation. First, the meditation. First, to think the pure realm of Amitabha. That's difficult. The Chinese think of the Chinese way, like the Chinese palace. The Indians think about the Indian kind of. In India, India has not much kind of water, and so there were very many kind of very cool ponds. In Tibet, there were butters and cheese cakes and things like that. First, you need tooth and butter, mar. Maybe you can think about cakes and cokes. These Tibetans cannot think about them. Whatever you want comes, it's said. We cannot actually measure everything that's needed. According to some lamas, sometimes they say that something far away, very far away, a little bit above, it's difficult. So therefore, if somebody is about to die, you have to think that the Devachen is just next to you or near. That same place is the Devachen. If you think like that, if you feel like that, it is easier to be born into the Devachen. So first, so what kind of imagination, what kind of feeling of this Devachen you have? The Devachen is created by the aspiration and the kind of the magical power or the aspiration of Amitabha. It's not something that is created out of karma or klesha. That is the most important thing to understand. How it looks, how the trees are, and how the land is or mountains are, or that doesn't matter. So you think whatever is nicer, whatever is positive, you think like that. So you feel that this place is the Amitabha's pure realm. So this is nothing inseparable than the highest realm here. That apparently it is Bodh Gaya. To some people, you see Bodh Gaya as a very poor place, lots of beggars, very dirty. But actually, it is the place where lots of Buddhas become enlightened. So one of the most sacred place. So this very much, this place itself, you can feel as the Devachen. So you feel this. We are actually sitting in Devachen. Meditate that the place where you are sitting, is the place or the realm of Devachen.